Hi guys. Let me introduce Efesto, the framework meant to coordinate all our engines. A lot of wonderful automation engines have been written in the past: the rule engine, the workflow engine, the decision engine, the prediction engine. The scope of the Efesto framework is to provide all of them of a common and stable API. Thanks to that API, all the different engines will be able to communicate seamlessly between them. They could be chained to easily enrich their behavior, and they will all be available to users out of the box, without the need of writing custom adapters or glue code. The Efesto framework clearly separates the compilation phase from the runtime phase. The compilation phase is invoked when a given model has to be translated to an executable unit. Generally, this would mean code generation, but there are cases where the executable unit would contain simply information to instantiate an already existing class with specific parameters. Keep in mind that the framework won't persist anything. It will be responsibility of the client code to do that. The runtime phase is invoked when an evaluation from a specific model has to be retrieved for a given input. Generally, this would mean instantiate a class created during the compilation phase, but there are cases where it would be enough to instantiate an already existing class with specific parameters. To enforce a common design, and allows easily integration of different engines, Efesto framework features a plugin architecture style. Every engine is contained inside a plugin that will be embedded in the Efesto execution. Inside the plugin, there should be a clear separation of compilation code and runtime code. Usually, this means that an Efesto plugin would contain at least a compilation module and a runtime one. While it is not strictly needed to have such kind of layout, what is really important is to keep strongly separated code related to compilation from the one needed for runtime. For the compilation phase, every plugin has to implement a class that fulfill the KI compilation service API. This basically consists in verify if the class can manage a given resource, and, in case, process the resource to generate the compilation output. It could be possible that an engine would require another one to works. In that case, the requiring plugin will produce an intermediate resource, that is a compilation output that also implement the resource interface. And the framework will take care of forwarding this intermediate resource to the target engine for further compilation. For the runtime phase, every plugin has to implement a class that fulfill the KI runtime service API. As for the compilation counterpart, this basically consists in verify if the class can manage a given input, and, in case, evaluate the input to generate the result. It could be possible that an engine would require another one to works. In that case, the requiring plugin will produce a specifically crafted input and will send it to the framework. The framework will take care of forwarding this intermediate input to the target engine for evaluation and will bring the result back to the caller engine. This, in turns, will be able to enrich or further modify this intermediate result, and send it back to the original caller. To recap, the goals of the Efesto framework are: provide users of a common and easy-to-use API to transparently interact with all the different engines. Unify all the engines behind the same API. Enforce separation between compilation and runtime phases. Enforce modularization. Avoid direct dependency between engines. Allows transparent interaction between engines through a stable API. Allows out-of-the-box composition between engines, both at compilation and runtime phases. The final effect of all of that will be double-faced. On one side, this would improve the usability of all our engines, possibly incrementing their adoption. On the other side, this would ease the work on the different engines, centralizing shared code and behavior on one single place and removing unneeded dependencies. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Here's some links to Efesto documentation and blog posts. The framework code is available in the Efesto module, inside the Drools repository. Happy coding!